Everybody, Texas Trucker here, Lance at Perform Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. Freezing. I've done PV Swiss, we've done Tang Tools. We're moving on now to more Black Friday, Cyber Monday goodness. And this comes to us from SK Tools. Now, SK, of course, you might recall, they make fantastic wrenches. These are their X frames, absolutely love them. Only have them in SAE, but that's because I plan to use them on the old cars, and they work fantastic, and I don't have anything metric on them, so that's been great. At work, we've got some ancient SK stuff that's still kicking, probably from the 60s, early 70s. Pretty cool company, still American-made. Now, what I was interested in doing this time, of course, was cashing in on the Black Friday, Cyber Monday savings for our screwdriver shootout. So that's exactly what I did. I can't remember the particulars on it. I think if you spent X, you got free freight, or you saved, I think you saved a pretty good chunk off of everything. And I think they do, I think it's very easy to get free freight from SK if I remember correctly. But nonetheless, I think we saved quite a bit. I'm going by what prices are when I just pulled this stuff up. And this first item is part number 85112. Price on it is $509. Any guesses what that is? Some of you may know if you're SK aficionados. I'll drop it in over here from the side. Well, it's a tiny screwdriver. You're saying, hey, is that a pocket one? Absolutely, that's exactly what it is. Now, it's got SK and USA on this side. It's in kind of like their classic dark green, if you will. Got the pocket clip. It's a little bulkier than I thought it was going to be. That could be good or bad. It's going to be nice in your hand, but maybe not nice in your pocket. It's also longer than I realized it would be. Ideally, this would be a number 2. This is a number 1, but the way this works, it is called a 2-in-1 for a reason, and that's because it's very, very snug, very secure. I mean, to give you an idea, you know, you're getting roughly that kind of a closeout on the back end there. So it's going to be secure. And then this tip is actually a little bit bigger than I think it should be. And I say that because I always think of these as sort of like eyeglass type of a thing, you know, but I still like a number 2, which I guess, you know, if you go by my logic, this one makes pretty good sense, I'm sure, from the manufacturer's standpoint. But that's all it is, man. It's a 2-in-1. We've got slotted, we've got Phillips, just kind of a handy little novelty type of a thing. At some point in time, I would like to go about trying to find something that would be a little bit better than that and still have a number 2. I think VHA might make something similar. To kind of put it in perspective here, my label scraper, which also doubles, by the way, it's fantastic at that, if you're curious how it's working out for me. This one is significantly heavier. This one is way lighter. This one has the small tip like I'm kind of accustomed to seeing. This one, like I said, it's pretty big. It's not out for comparison purposes, but I would much rather have this in my pocket, although this one does add the versatility of a Phillips tip. But I felt like it was worth bringing in. I remember as a kid, everybody ran around and they would have multiple screwdriver pocket clips, and I'd heard good things about SKs, so I figured we would bring it in. Something else neat from SK. I just kind of want to showcase this real quick. The screwdrivers that we're about to showcase came in massive bags, but everything that they send out comes in a bag with the part number, again, that being 85112 in this case. And when you flip it over, you got the SK logo. Not necessarily going to protect what you bring in as good as some things could, but it is nice if you're typically, if you were going to disperse that amongst workers, maybe you brought in like a big order for your shop and you needed to get items A, B, and C to employee 1, D, E, and F to employee 2, whatever the case may be. It is nice from that standpoint. And in my rare case of a guy that actually brings stuff in and makes a video, really simplifies things. Now, coming in, paying careful attention to that handle, we're going to roll out part number 82007. This thing is 1680, which is a pretty good chunk of change for a driver. But this is going to be what they call their Suregrip, and this is some crazy plastic handle that's kind of chemical resistant. I think you can beat on it pretty good, and it does have a hex bolster, so we are going that route. Their tips are to be vapor blasted. SK pretty well known, I'd have to say, for their chrome. And I'm not sure that the camera's going to do it justice, but there's a really ridiculous luster on that chrome. So this is kind of an old style driver. This is square. This isn't necessarily the latest and greatest in ergonomics or hand studies. This is what we made. People liked it, and we still do it. You've got SK USA on one side. You've got the part number and Phillips 24 on the other. No identification up top. Now, some of you are going to love this. Some of you will absolutely hate it. I don't know that there's much of an in-between with this. I really don't. For me, I do like kind of the bulb of it, but my problem is I've got so many screwdrivers from all across the globe at this point in time. I don't know. It's not going to be my favorite, I'll put it that way. I am interested to see how it performs, how it holds up over time, which we will showcase in later videos. It's also pretty bulky, like I said, pretty heavy on this back end here. But like I said, it does have the hex bolster. That does help somewhat justify the price of $16.80. Now, my thing, if you were going with an SK screwdriver, that's what you wanted to try, if that's what you had used at a friend's place or a previous place of work and you wanted to replicate at your new job or at your shop, $16.80 there, you can take a step up. This is literally all they offer. You either go with that or you go with this. And the price point on this one's $17.09. It's lighter weight. It feels better in my opinion. Part number 79113. Again, you're spending an extra 29 cents. In my opinion, you're getting the superior product. This is, again, SK's number 2 by 4 inch. They've got the shaft here. They've got the vapor blasted tip. It's a lot lighter. It's very similar. It's basically a refined, modernized version of this classic, which again, you know, if you're getting this for your grandfather, he might actually prefer that because it's what he's accustomed to, what he's used to. Or he might slap you over the head and say, why didn't you spend 29 cents and get me the new one? This one, it's going to be one of those deals, you know, if you're accustomed to Vera and VHA type of stuff, or even Klein, this is a significant change because it's got more of a square profile. I'm not sure if you can tell, but basically coming across here, square. Thumb, square. Rotate, it's basically a squared handle. And again, some will like it, some will hate it. What I do like that they improved, it's sort of cut back, where that one's just a giant bulk of plastic. This one is streamlined a little bit. It has recesses here for your thumb or your fingers. It's got the hex bolster as well. You can see the part number there. You can see here we've got the SK USA, and then here, not necessarily the fanciest thing that we've seen for an identifier on the top end, but it's simple, it's efficient. The contrast between this shade of green and the white is fantastic. Results in what I would consider very good visibility. And again, this is just sort of a brighter shade of green than that. This is sort of more like a Stahlwille green, a little bit darker than Stahlwille, but not near the shades that you see there. Also just so much lighter. And if I had to say, do you want this one or this one, on my official recommendation based off of initial impressions only, assuming that the tips are exactly the same, which they appear to be, I'd say spend the 29 cents and get this. Obviously, if you buy sets, you can save a little bit of cash. We're only concerned with the number 2 Phillips at this point in time. And this is pretty much it. If you wanted an SK screwdriver showcase, there you are. That is what you can get in the number 2 Phillips. You would kind of think that they would have more of an offering, more options, but that's it. They keep it clean, they keep it simple. I'm sure they've had, you know, good feedback on these over the years, and that's what they still offer. So cannot fault them for sticking with what works. However, there is some glaring issue. Now, I just did the Tang tools, which had the hex shaft, which, you know, I basically come in, we needed a 1/4 inch capri. Previously, in the PB Swiss, we had 10 millimeter for our hex bolsters. So I had the Joker handy, I had the capris out. I assumed, you know, that we would come in and this would probably be, you know, the hex bolster. I was thinking it'd be 3/8, you know, because we're SK USA, you know, I'm not thinking metric or anything like that, right? And so I grabbed, let's just start here, okay? Let's get our capri 3/8, right? We're going to come in, and I would say that that fits very well. There's not much more I can complain. Now, this is two really good pieces of chrome, by the way. Capri does a really nice job, and SK particularly. This shaft looks a lot better than that one, ironically, in terms of the chrome application. So there's a lot of glare, a lot of luster, but if you will bear with me, I might try to zoom in. Dun, dun, dun. Might be a lost cause because of the luster. But that fits very well. That fits properly. And again, this is a 3/8 from Capri, right? And I'm thinking, cool, SK, slice of Americana. Let me check their nude one out, right? And it's going to be 3/8 too, because it's American. Screw the metric system. I don't know. Again, these are two really good chrome jobs. Do you see what's happening here? I might be able to shove that thing on there, but we're going to take a good chunk of metal with us. And when you look at the chrome, it looks really good on that angle, the shaft. But when you run your hand on it, there are quite a few imperfections, particularly here. There's like a gash in it. Keep in mind, this was shipped in a box, in a bag, and these are the only 3 items in here, so it's not like I bought a hammer or a huge pair of pliers that have done that. I don't know what happened. You can also kind of see some of the streaks in it. It's almost like I've used this, you know, for quite some time, and it's been worn as it's rubbed across various surfaces trying to get the tip to it. Going by the tip, it looks fine, but the shaft here, particularly for SK, I've got to say, I'm pretty disappointed in that finish. And I also feel like there's just a huge glob here. If you look at that hex bolster, it's not uniform. You can see like the irregularities in it, and it's almost like if I was going to paint something and I did a light coat on one part and then I just slathered it on another, and it dries weird because there's too much paint, right? It didn't finish out properly. That's where we're at. So these are essentially the exact same shaft and tip with a different handle, is the way I would describe this. 3/8 fits that perfect, okay? 3/8, when we come in on this, we can't do it. It's just insanity, you know? So you think, okay, hey, maybe it's metric, you know? And then you think, wait, just get the X-frames out, you know? That'll tell you maybe Capri's off, who knows? Well, the SK X-frame fits this perfect. Now that looks really good. I mean, those are two highlights of SK, is going to be their super chrome, right? And, I'm not a chrome guy. I'm really not. I prefer the matte finish. That's one of the nice selling points of German screwdrivers and tools. But if you are a chrome person, that's pretty dadgum good right there. So you're thinking, okay, throw the X-frame on that SK screwdriver, because you know that's probably what they use to test it with. I would love to, but I can't. I mean, I realize again that that's not the greatest I got it on. It's not supposed to be like that. Like, you're not supposed to have to force it over the, and look at this, it's stuck now. I'm gonna have to pull it off with considerable force, and I can feel it pulling on the finish of this hex bolster. Like, did you see what I mean? I had to put forth ridiculous effort to do that. Like, it's just, that's crap. That's complete crap is what that is. This is a situation, this isn't from Harbor Freight. I didn't acquire this screwdriver for $2 and change, and then use a 50% off coupon and get a multimeter for free. This cost money. This was on sale, whatever, but this is not what I expect from SK. This is not what I expect to spend $17 and receive. We're at a point where I'm coming in and I'm like, okay, well, you know, 9mm is going to be slightly smaller. So we'll go back to this one. Doesn't fit, right? That's how it's supposed to be. It's not going to fit because it's not the right size. So we're clearly not going to fit there. And then 10mm is just a little bit bigger than 3/8 if my mind serves correctly. Now this you could technically work with. This is a VHA wrench, but I mean, it's going to be a deal where you're going to round something out eventually, particularly if your fastener is in tight. But you could technically do it. When we come in here with a 10mm, again, it's just sloppy, and that's because this should be 3/8, okay? And then the Vera, even, you come in and it's the same thing. I'm just doing this, you know, so you can kind of see. Now, the way they have their teeth set up, that actually bites a little bit better, and you could probably get by doing that. But again, we should not have to go a size up, Okay, if this is supposed to be 3/8, that would be, if we're going to do the math and do a standard wrench set, we'd have 6/16 here, which tells us we need to go +1 to 7/16, which is a common size, frequently found on battery terminals and stuff, but it's going to be sloppy just like this 10mm. So the 3/8 fits this one perfectly, right? Then we come down over here to Mr. Blemish shaft, and I have a heck of a time even using an SK wrench of getting this thing on. You know, like, it should go. It should not be a I have to force you to fit type of a thing like I just did. And then getting it off, oh, that's another story. I mean, we're basically pulling the finish off of one of these two, wearing it down prematurely because it was poorly done. This, in my opinion, is inexcusable. I am assuming that this would be a 3/8 just like that. It's just got too much material on it. I don't know if it, you know, dried down. I don't deal with the chroming process, but you can kind of see the puddle around the flank there. It's just a bad setup, and I'm not a fan of it. And again, for 17 bucks, and especially something made in America, I expect the best. I don't expect a reject. I don't expect some bargain basement stuff like Harbor Freight. Now, their wrenches are fantastic. There's no issues with them. But right here, that drop down on the ratcheting side perfectly, right? So when I take this one, the fancy cushion grip one that I expect to be better than that, can I seat my ratcheting end on there? I don't know. I don't want to shove it on and potentially break my expensive wrench. So that to me is a huge disappointment. Now, granted, we've not turned a single screw with these. They could make up for it, but that is inexcusable in my opinion. I'm going to take the Capri 3/8 ratcheting side. You see the problem there? It's not seating. Okay, I can't get this stupid thing on. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say, well, let's try the 10mm. That, it's sloppy. Like, you can see how much we're turning the driver before we start to articulate the wrench, but I should not have to size up. This is brand new. This isn't used. This isn't from my grandpa's toolbox. This wasn't sent in by a viewer that doesn't need it anymore. The fact that that fits so well with the 10mm Vera, that's a problem. That's sloppy on the chrome, sloppy on the finish out, sloppy, unacceptable really, quality control in my opinion. Because again, I shouldn't have a dent in the shaft. I shouldn't have, you can't really see it because of the luster, but all along here it looks like I took steel wool or something and just slid it down the shaft and then did it repeatedly heavier in other positions, and that's not the case. This is brand new out of the bag. Bottom line, I'm going to use it. We're going to see how it stacks up. I do like the handle considerably better than the one above it. So, I mean, that's a perk. It's just a shame that the chroming there is too heavy, and it changes the size of what should be a 3/8 hex bolster into something slightly larger than 3/8 and slightly smaller than 10mm still. So it's not like it was egregious enough to get it up to a full-on 10mm, because it's not going to be done you know, six-sided evenly, but at the same time there's enough of an excess there that our 3/8 is just shot, and it's not going to happen. I try to keep things real with you. Like, when I get something in, you never like to spend money and get something and be disappointed with it. You know, a lot of times people won't admit that. It's kind of like a knock on them, they feel. I don't care. If I would have gotten this for free, I wouldn't be as upset because I'm not out any money. But I still would have pointed it out if this would have been sent out for review. It's the same type of a thing. That's a defect. That should not have left the plant. That should have been corrected. If I had my guesses, I would say that an awful lot from that batch or that production run probably has the same issue. Maybe they don't check the hex bolster. Maybe they think people just use an adjustable wrench, which that's one workaround. That's really the only way you could adequately do that. I could also come in with a pair of pliers, but again, then we're going to be destroying our own tool. That's designed for a wrench. That's how I've always used hex bolsters. It's how I'll continue to use hex bolsters. That's just very, very sad in my opinion. It is what it is, though. And, I don't know. That's about all I can say. So the tips, I mean, it might be a fantastic driver. I'll give it a fair shake there. But the fact that it has the hex bolster, and that helps justify it costing, you know, $17 instead of like 9 to 12-ish where we might be without that, I have to knock it because it's there, but it's not really functional. I shouldn't have to force a wrench on it. I shouldn't then have to tear the chrome apart, by using a pair of Cobras or something. It's just, I don't know. We've gotten in a lot of stuff, and we've had very, very few issues. And SK, I kind of hold them in high regard. I still do, as a matter of fact. But that, to me, that's a problem, and it has to be pointed out. So if you've recently picked up a set of SK drivers, I know a lot of people don't ever use the hex bolster. It's just kind of there if you need it type of a thing. I know some people that use it even when they don't need it, particularly if they have ratcheting wrenches. It's just kind of like a convenience thing once you get used to it. But if you brought these in recently, do you have the same problem? Was the chroming bad? Were there imperfections in it? Most notably, did you have trouble with the hex bolster? This one fits fine. It's perfect. Zero issues. The chrome job also looks significantly better than this one. But it is what it is. Ideally, I would get perfect stuff. We'd showcase it. I wouldn't have had the complaint. I would have said, hey, 3/8 hex bolsters, awesome. And we'd have been done 5 or 10 minutes ago. But as is, that's an issue. It has to be pointed out. I don't know. If this was like cheap stuff from Stanley or Husky at Home Depot or Lowe's, okay, it's kind of what you expect in the price range. I expect better from SK. I expect a lot better from SK, and that's very, very disappointing. Again, I don't know that you're going to be able to see much on this, but I mean, you can kind of see like just how sloppy it looks on that hex bolster. And now it's probably had some pulled off and I've had to force wrenches on it. But just the overall chrome job is not, in my opinion, up to SK standards. But the bottom line, this one looks ridiculous. It's like a mirror finish. Their X-frames are still fantastic. I do, out of these two handles, think this one is significantly better. But the hex bolster's there and I can't really use it, so we're going to complain about it. But, my apologies on that. I try not to go off on rants unless it's warranted, and we really haven't had to up until that, because that to me is unacceptable. So it is what it is, though. The screwdriver end is okay, so I mean, it's not a lost cause by any means. We'll go about our business, see how we like it. For all I know, that may end up being the greatest screwdriver ever, but I now have a low battery light flashing at me, so I'll take that as my my sign to stop complaining, go in and thaw out a little bit. I'm not sure I'm going to last much longer. Losing feeling in my left foot, and nose is starting to run from the cold. And it doesn't help when you have a disappointing $17 screwdriver in front of you. But the X-frames are awesome. I just wish they'd make them in bigger sizes. They've not done that yet. Maybe if someone from SK sees this, happy medium, make a 15/16, would you? But like I said, I mean, the chrome job from SK is typically absurd. It's like Capri, but American type of a thing. I mean, it's kind of, like I said, held in high regard for a reason. They've got the pedigree, they've got the history, they're still making things in America. To me, that should never happen. If it does happen, it should have been caught before it came to me. Anyone in quality control or shipping that tries to put a 3/8 wrench around that would have easily been like, hey, there's a problem. And then you go back, you investigate it, you solve it, you remedy it, scrap it, send them out at discounts, whatever you do. Take it from there. I'm sure the handles would probably be salvageable, but it is what it is. I guess you could strip it down and re-chrome even, but hey, I don't work there. I just buy the stuff, and I'm gonna get inside. So, as always, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. We will be doing the shootout with these regardless of the issue. We're not as concerned about the hex bolster, but it is a nice feature to have if it's present. But it's gotta be denoted when it's an issue. So if if PB Swiss stuff came in and they had a 10mm hex bolster, and I went to the striking cap and it didn't fit, we would have done the same complaining. But in this case, it's SK, it's 3/8, didn't fit, have to mention it. So, on a happy note, Alpha gloves are awesome. You can use discount code Lone Star to save a pretty good chunk of change. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, Well, thanks for sticking around. Make sure you have subscribed if you have not. Again, if you have had this issue, I know a lot of you might have even gotten these and have never tried that. If you've got SK drivers, particularly the Cushiongrip one, go out and see. Is that a 3/8 bolster? Does it fit well, or does it also have excess chrome or some issue down there? We'll be curious to monitor the results. With that said, thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one.